California the most in this region, and that's because when he purchased a slave, if the slave had a wife and children, he'd buy the whole family so that they would never be separated. And so that was good for them. And then in the village, he built a cottage for each of those families so they didn't have to share with multiple families and squeeze into one space. So that was good too. They could hunt, they could fish, so they could buy for their own food. And they also built a hospital for them, and there was a doctor who would visit every week. And the doctor trained one of the slaves to be a nurse to take care of them. So from the readings that we have, it sounds like the slaves were treated fairly well as a slave can be treated, considering the conditions. When the war ended, the majority of the slaves stayed here. And we actually have descendants of the slaves who still work here today. Pretty amazing.
I know y'all seen this. It's been all over my For You page. The Nottoway plantation out in Louisiana, it has burned to the ground. On this page that I'm looking at, it's described as a fairy tale, surrounded by mature live oaks, magnolia, and pecan trees. It takes you back in time. They also describe it as truly a bucket list experience. The full name is the Nottoway Plantation Resort. It sits on property 31 acres large, has 40 rooms, including 5 suites. The property has a restaurant and bar, lounge and fitness center, tennis courts, outdoor pool and cabana. And of course, the property is perfect for weddings and parties. 15,000 square foot event space. That'll take care of all that. And get this, they go into talking about the owner, the original owner of this plantation, John Hamden Randolph. He purchased the land in 1855. And of course, we know that this plantation was built by slaves. Goes into talking about the beautiful property, and it faces the Mississippi River, which was a major transportation hub for steamboats and all of that stuff. And that's all it says about the history of this plantation. I have to go over to Mildred and have a conversation with Mildred to learn that the plantation housed 155 enslaved Black people. It was a sugar plantation. But you see, this is how they want history taught. They don't want to talk about the ugly side of history, about what their ancestors did, how they enslaved Black people, how they treated Black people inhumanely. Barbarism was the key point of slavery, and they don't want to talk about it. There is no mention about slavery, the slaves he owned, doesn't even describe it as a sugar plantation, describes it as Nottoway Plantation Resort. And I'm looking on this little map, and then way in the back, way back yonder from the main house, the big house, I see something, a row of cottages. That's what they're calling slave houses now. Cottages. Imagine all of the money that has been made off of this plantation that was built off of the blood, sweat, and tears of Black people. Imagine all of the money that they have made. And I guarantee you, not one red cent went to the descendants of the slaves that built this plantation. Not one red cent.
Hey, welcome to the Monday edition of Let It Be Known. I am your host, Stacy Brown. It's good to be with you.
Peace and love. I'm Niele, your co-pilot, and there's a lot of headlines, lots of things that happened this weekend and weekend, and we're going to get to them. And that was one of them. The
Yeah,
plantation burned, baby, burned.
yeah, 159 enslaved people that place held. And that young lady, Greer finds these things. I guess she follows some of these folks, or they follow her, or whatever. But she's spot on. This is how they've been trying to tell history, right? And the earlier video, I guess, was the tour or whatever. The white lady had the audacity talking about slaves were treated, she says they were treated good, or as good as you could expect, or whatever, something like that, whatever she said. It's just horrendous that one, not one tear could be legitimately shared over the destruction and devastation of this plantation. This was something that it should have been, when they were talking about getting rid of the monuments, they should have got rid of all these plantations. There's plantations in Virginia, South Carolina, other places as well.
Mhm.
Get rid of them. But
I
that'll
know over
not,
the
of course,
weekend,
happen now.
over the weekend, tons of people. I love the response from the Black community.
Mhm.
People were having cookouts over the lawns. They were playing Frankie Beverly. There were even Black Louisianans that went to the plantation, took video of it just to document the celebration of it all. So I think
Mhm.
the burning of this plantation and even that video shows the difference between the two Americas that we live in. For Black folks, it's a celebration of it should have burned down. And then you have the white lady giving the tour, painting this colorful story of untruth that happened on that plantation. So I
Mhm.
think John
Well,
Randolph, he was even a scary cat. When the Civil War came, he took the slaves, left his wife, and went to Texas. So there is nothing redeemable about this
nothing.
plantation or its plantation owner. And to that lady's point, none of the money made at that plantation went to the descendants of slaves. So, for us Black folks, let it burn, let it burn.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to equate that. That'll go down a whole different. But there's something else that came to mind. But I'm going to tell you what one ex user said that probably sums it up. Generations of human beings. This is somebody posted
Yeah,
on
that's the
X.
video.
Yeah, generations of human beings were held captive, tortured, assaulted, mutilated, and worked to death in plantations. Let the sadistic ghouls who want to hold their weddings and parties at Nottoway find another concentration camp for their happy occasion.
This was another one that I liked. They had Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and they were like, there was a picture of them laughing in front of. This is a good one too. Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King. I'm not sure who the other two ladies are, but I mean, if this wasn't a picture of what America feels, Black versus white over the weekend, I don't know what is, because there were two different stories coming out. If you watch the white person's response to it, and Black folks, two different Americas we live in.
Well, Mike V and David Youngblood says, they're telling me to hold my horses. They on getting rid of these plantations. Mike V says you don't want to get rid of the plantations if the idea is to get HR 40 passed at some point. We're gonna, in fact, talk a little bit about reparations in a moment, Mike V. And David says, no, don't get rid of them. They should remain as reminders, or we buy them and tell their stories. How about that?
Right. Or how about just, if we do the right thing and tell it now? Like, why can't we just do American history on the trajectory that we were going on? And
Mhm.
what Nicole Hannah Jones did with that 1619 project, which was about to be part of the fabric of America in our education systems. That was the trajectory we were on until the Republican Party decided to talk about critical race theory. But we can go on and on. But as we're talking
Mhm.
about Black history, we have
But
a
wait,
Black history pop culture quiz.
yeah, but before we do that, I gotta just to put a pin in that one, an exclamation point.
Mhm.
Orange G says the lifespan working in the sugarcane field was 8 years. Thousands of enslaved Africans died there. Instead of following the 13th Amendment, the so-called master took, as you noted, took 200 enslaved Africans to Texas. So
Mhm.
There you have it. Yes, please, let's get to our Black Pop quiz if we can. Okay. Which two influential historical figures' birthdays inspired the selection of February for what would become Black History Month? Okay. Which two influential historical figures' birthdays inspired the selection of February for what would become Black History Month? Come on, chat, do your thing, y'all. Do your thing, because that's a good question too. I I want to say one of them is Frederick Douglass, but I'm
Mm.
not sure. Not sure. In other news this morning, former President Joe Biden, as you might have heard over the weekend, was diagnosed with with a aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. The diagnosis came after Biden reported urinary symptoms, which led doctors to find a quote small nodule on his prostate. Biden's cancer is characterized by a Gleason score of 9, which metastasizes to the bone. The statement said the Gleason score is used to describe how prostate cancers look under a microscope. 9 and 10, of course, are the most aggressive, and the president's cancer is stage 4, which means that yes, indeed, it has spread.
Hmm. Yeah, that's sad. Lots of love for President Biden poured in over the weekend. I know Mignon Moore sent her love. Kamala Harris sent her love. And then you had President, 47 talking about stage 5. There's no stage 5 cancer. I mean, if you can't say nothing at all, don't say stupid stuff. Stage 5. And then
Oh
his
my
son
gosh.
tweeting, just negative things. But Trump said Dr. Biden didn't know. Dr. Biden is not a medical doctor. She's a doctor of
Unbelievable.
education. I mean, just
Oh
the
my
illiteracy of
gosh.
the president is just
It's astounding.
tremendous. It's tremendous. It's bigly, as he would say.
Bigly.
It's
It's
bigly.
just again, I've said this over and over again. I was just saying it again this morning. I don't understand. You have all the power that anybody has ever had. Why are you so angry and nasty? Why it's like, dude, and you 80 years old yourself. Enjoy your presidency. Enjoy your life. You got only a few years left yourself. Come on. I mean, these people are so and it's his whole staff. They are, that White House spokesperson, nasty, like he calls all these women nasty and stuff. Well, she's nasty. They all are nasty people. It's like, get a grip. You guys, you're on top. You're on top.
Yeah, well, prayers out to former President Biden and his family. We know he's in his older years, and so this could be a really painful battle for him. And so, instead of focusing on Trump, let's just keep the love pouring in, and just let him know we appreciate him as our former president.
She put that. She did put that tweet up that he put out that you referred to.
Hmm.
Dr. Biden. Why didn't Dr. Jill Biden catch this stage 5? This guy. All right. How did she
Yeah,
miss
he's a
stage?
nut.
Oh my gosh.
So much
Anyway,
love to the Biden family.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's a horrible diagnosis, and a reminder for our folks. This is something. Prostate cancer is a huge, huge issue in our community. Checked, folks. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Black men are 1 in 6 Black men will be
Hmm.
diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, compared to 1 in 8 men overall. And I'll never forget Damon Harris, the former lead singer of the Temptations. He we were in Mexico, and he called a meeting because he had prostate cancer. He had been battling it at that point for a couple of years. He wound up dying at the young age of 62 years old. But at that time, he was about 50 years old. And he said, you got to get checked, Black men. He had a meeting with all of us Black men. You got to get checked. This is
Hmm.
serious.
Mm-hmm.
The organization Zero Prostate Cancer, which is a national nonprofit, said Black men in the United States are 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer and more than twice as likely to die from it compared to white men. So get tested, folks. Especially, I think now they're saying once you're 40, get it, get your checkups and things of that nature. Especially African American men, we
Mm-hmm.
have to take care of this stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah, this is anyway. And here a sweeping. Get this, folks. A sweeping. We got to talk a little bit about Maryland. But a sweeping state audit of Maryland's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner revealed that dozens of in custody deaths, primarily, of course, involving Black men, were misclassified during the tenure of Dr. David Fowler. Now, do you remember who Dr. David Fowler is? Well, you probably will remember when I tell you that this was the guy who testified in the defense of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, calling labeling George Floyd as having excited delirium, which was of course discredited. And so in Maryland, they have now found out that uh, this finding is now exposing how forensic systems can obscure state violence and deny families the truth, even in death.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Talk about it all the time. It's called police sanctioned violence. It's a term that I learned from Black Lives Matter, Dr. Melina Abdullah. And the more we talk about these stories, the more that phrase is real. At this point, thank God that this is coming out. And we know that it's not going to come out on a federal level because Trump and them want to double down on protecting police sanctioned violence. And so
Mhm.
this is a positive thing that this report came out. We know that the governor of Maryland is progressive, Wes Moore, and he understands the plight of Black folks in America. And so, only hopefully, good things, forward progressive movement when it comes to police reform can happen on a state level because it's not going to happen on a federal. So, although this is a horrible thing to reveal, the positive thing is that there are people in place in that state that can kind of help curb this sanctioned violence.
Yeah, yeah, because it does bring up so many questions, and I mean they went back, the auditor looked at hundreds of cases too,
Hmm.
and this is just it's alarming. It's not surprising,
Not at all.
um, but it's very very alarming. And I'll tell you what else is alarming as we move on. Um, Neil, and this is a story again. April Ryan broke this story about a month ago with the artifacts being removed from the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Hmm.
Well, new report says now over the weekend, at least 32 artifacts have been removed from the museum. Artifacts that no longer on display include Harriet Tubman's personal hymn book and a first edition of Frederick Douglass's narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, which was published in 1845. So they are indeed continually removing artifacts from that museum.
I think it's good when we went to the museum to speak to the people about their thoughts. It was a lot
Absolutely.
of African Americans that were going to the museum just for this very reason. Um, and when you brought up the books, it made me think of like that was the one precious thing during slavery and civil rights. It was like the most important thing that Black folks valued was education and a book, a poem.
Right.
Like when you think of like the crisis, so many people, Black people, that was like the second Bible because that is where the best thought leaders, the best writers, the best poets would contribute. And reading and writing was like being a football player, was like being
Hmm.
an actress, was being
Hmm.
a hip hop star. If you could read, you could write, and you could contribute in literacy and literary works, you were the superstars back in the day. And so they know the power of education for Black folks, and they just continue to try to take it away. But If you haven't been to the museum, we definitely encourage you to go because it's a beautiful place and they are slowly taking away the treasures in it.
RNG says a lot of people owe April Ryan an apology. I mean, that was, not to go back down that road, but I mean, that was just so sad to see that people who look like us was attacking her for telling the story that they are taking away artifacts from that museum,
Right.
understanding that that museum now is under the power of this administration, pretty much. That
Hmm.
the Smithsonian is under the power of the administration, and they're going to tell you what the administration wants you to tell you. April dug a little deeper and went directly to certain critical sources in this, and she broke the story. And Yamiche Alcindor now is the one who is telling this story about the 32 artifacts, and it was Yamiche. She was one of those who stood up with April and April's reporting last month. So it's really ironic that now Yamiche is breaking this story as well. So, folks, eh, look at don't keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the big picture. This little, you know, backbiting stuff is not going to get us anywhere. So good job, Yamiche Alcindor. Great job, April Ryan. And keep tuning in to Black Press USA for more on that. And as this thing continues to unravel, as you said, Niele, we talked to some folks there, and black and white. And I think we talked to some Asian folks too.
We
Folks
did.
are appalled. They
Hmm.
are appalled. Of all races are appalled, and said they all to a person said this is history. You can't take away history.
Yeah. It's, you know, what's the Lord, good Lord, gonna do about all this? In the words of Smokey Norfield, we need you now. We
Oh
need you
God.
now.
Now here's something now that's it's kind of got folks a little bit confused. We talked a little bit about Maryland a minute ago, and I saw someone put it in the chat. Maryland Governor Westmore, this really dynamic rising star who has done a yeoman's job already in the state of Maryland, and I just love seeing he worked with Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore, and you see how these two black officials have come together to make Baltimore a great place, Maryland a great place. But Westmore now has raised some questions. He vetoed a bill to create a slavery reparations study commission. He argued that the issue has been studied enough and it's time to take action instead, like closing the racial wealth gap and supporting Black communities through direct investment. And, of course, Wes Moore is the state's first Black governor, and he pointed to the rise of Black leaders in Maryland politics as proof of progress. I mean, he talked about having a Black auditor, a Black governor, a Black mayor of Baltimore, several African Americans in very, very key spots, in the most
Mhm.
key spots in the state. So, but as Dr. Joni too puts, she really don't understand the veto. He's doing such important work, very confused. He vetoed it.
No, I think it's very smart. What he didn't veto
Okay.
reparations. What he's saying is that there's enough studies. So technically, if Maryland or any other state wanted to, California has did a very extensive and intense study. It's 1,100 pages, talking about they had a 2-year commission. We've had the chair, Camilla Moore, on. Dr. Amos Brown was the co-chair of this committee. We had him on. His artifacts have been taken from the museum. We've had Steve Bradford, former legislator, that sat on that panel. They spent 2 years studying the impact of slavery. They also, in their reporting, they gave out a laundry list of ways of what reparation looks like, and it's bigger than 40 acres and a mule. It's bigger than a paycheck. It has to do with our healthcare system, our policing system, our economic system. So there are extensive studies from California being the leader to other states who have commissioned studies. Even HR 40, on a federal level, is a commissioned study. What Westmore saying is that it's enough studying out there. Go get them studies, go through them studies, and find out how you gonna pay Black folks. that's basically what he's saying. So he's not vetoing reparations. He's just saying we don't need another study. And to his point, we don't. We don't.
No, I said that a couple of weeks ago. I made that very same point. Did Westmore steal my point? I made that point right here on Let It Be Known. Enough with the studies. Dr. I was about to say Dr. David Youngblood says, I agree, no more studies. The libraries are filled with the cost and consequences of slavery. Pay up. And Mike V says Governor Moore is overseeing Equity Tech as a funding mechanism to fund Black startups. Brilliant move on his part. And Dr. Joni says, agree that the data is in, but reparations aren't happening. And in my opinion, they should be. She says, yeah, it's so I get his premise. What I don't understand, and I 100% agree with him, but what I don't understand is why allow this, and I think this is part of the issue. Even Angela also Brooks kind of touched on it. She didn't criticize him. She touched on it though. This Democratic controlled legislature in Maryland, you knew that they were doing all this work. Did you communicate with them during the work, putting this bill together and stuff, that, hey, forget the bill, let's figure something else out? Did you communicate that at all? And hopefully he did. But you understand that these legislators are going to do whatever they can to try and make sure that their constituents know, hey, this is what we're doing to try and bring some sort of justice, or in this case, reparations to you.
Right. Yeah. I think California is the perfect place to like look at how, things work. And, our Black legislators out here in California couldn't get on the same page to pass a reparations bill. We had Steve Bradford on. So a lot of times what's happening with state lawmakers and what's happening in the governor's office are two different visions. Sometimes the governor will communicate his thoughts to some Black legislators and not all of them, because it takes only a few to sponsor the bill. So maybe the ones that sponsors the bill, he communicated that information to, and they were like, no, we want to follow the model that everybody else is doing. And he communicated, I'm not putting that on my desk, but they pushed it anyway, because a lot of times what happens is for their constituents, they can say, we did what you asked us to do, but the governor decided not to move forward. So it's kind of like a game, not a game, but it's just a volley of politics and passing policy. They did what their constituents want, even knowing that they knew the governor wasn't going to pass it. That happens a lot. I'm not saying this is the case, but looking at California and how things work when they did the study, Steve wrote the bills. The other Black legislators didn't like that Steve wrote the bill and didn't have their 2 cents in when he wrote it. So they went along with it. But then when it came time to pass it and do the votes, they went against it.
Oh boy, a crazy game. Politics itself is crazy. But again, look, I get what Westmore is saying there. So and you're right, it's messy. Boy, I tell you, I have to report on it, but I don't get involved in it. Politics. Anyway, you got more headlines and trending news for us, don't you?
Oh, we're done already with the top of the hour? Jeez, that went by fast.
It went by quick.
1 second. Let me look, I always say if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I'm ready.
There you go.
All right. So the Diddy Do It Diddy trial
continues. Oh God. Didn't do it?
Is he really good? Did he really do it? But it continues today in New York City, and today's testimony continues with Don Richards. Richards had worked alongside Diddy on making of the band. We know that on Friday she gave testimony that there was a skillet and some eggs involved in Cassie and Diddy. So she returns to the stand today to continue her testimony.
Oh no, look who's a lawyer. Give me a break. Oh gosh, you gotta be kidding. Now I'm definitely against this chick.
Oh gosh. But one person that we do know that will not be testifying, which there was speculation that she was Audra Day. No, what's her name? Yeah, is that her name?
Yes.
Audrey, yeah. So she won't be testifying.
Oh my gosh.
But
This is a disgrace.
Don Richards will be returning to the witness stand today. And we'll keep
When
track
you
on that.
Yes. And when you do stuff like this is where I start rooting for the bad guy. In this case, Diddy. You're gonna bring Lisa Bloom up in here, this horrendous individual who only hustles black male celebrities, shakes them down constantly, her and her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. You couldn't find yourself a black lawyer? You couldn't find a different lawyer? Forget about a black lawyer. You couldn't find a different one?
Maybe she did it pro bono. She didn't have to pay her.
Oh no, the Blooms and the All Reds are not doing nothing pro bono.
I mean,
this is a shakedown and a half.
It keeps their names in the media.
I am just totally disgusted, Niele, that looking at. I didn't know that was her lawyer. Good night. And then she putting on that classic made up Gloria Allred, Lisa Bloom face as if, oh, she's such a victim. You're not a victim because she's your lawyer. I don't see you as a victim. Put me on that jury now. Diddy going home just because of that. How about Niele? How about them paying? I think you brought this out in our team chat. $20 an hour for folks to wear free Diddy shirts.
Oh, yes, that is what's going on. Yeah. Well, that's what they're saying. That, I mean, Diddy is a record label. And back in the 90s, street teams were the business. That's how you got your message out. So I just thought, oh, Diddy went back to the 90s.
He went back to the street teams.
Street team. He got a street team out
for the trial. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Look,
that's what it reminded me of, because when Bad Boy was in his prime, street teams were the business, and you'd see the signs, records coming out here. That's what that is. He went back to the
street
90s.
team, not the street team.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God, that girl that's telling the story in the jean jacket, and she had a free Diddy shirt under the jacket. Don't pay her. She's not doing what she's supposed to be wearing the shirt.
Hey, living in America.
Chris said, "Yep, I was in them streets."
Yeah, see, that's what it reminded me of.
Teams. That is so hilarious to me that you said street teams. I remember those. I remember that.
That's what that was. $20 an hour. You stand out there for 5 hours. You can make $100 of tax-free money. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, she said one girl made $60. She did it for 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
Wow. I remember. Listen, what I did. Chris Stokes. You might know Chris Stokes.
He used to be on the label. He used to be one of our artists for Fully Loaded Records. Chris Stokes, Wataz, when he was in Wataz.
Chris would give me $150 a night as an extra in the videos. So.
The question is, did you see any strange behavior going on those Chris Stokes sets?
No, and I was on like the immature, yeah, the immature videos. What's the other group? BTK, whatever. And I also
Wataz.
Yeah. So no, I didn't listen. I didn't see nothing that out of the ordinary. Put it that way. But those things probably, if they happen probably out of sight of extras like myself.
Hey, just like the freak-offs.
Right.
Okay, but let's keep moving. We're not going to tell nobody business we don't know about. It's all alleged, folks. It's all alleged.
Good night.
All right. So moving on. In serious news, a deadly explosion happened outside a fraternity clinic here in Palm Springs, California on Friday, killing one person and injuring 4 others. Now, the suspect is a 25-year-old named Guy Barkas, and he's been taken into custody, and documents do show he opposed IVF.
I'm done. Mike B.
You're done.
What he said. Look what Mike B said. Instead of free calls, he says, I'm doing journal offs.
Oh, wait. I need a little more detail on that one.
My gosh. The stuff y'all come up with.
What does that mean?
The stuff they come up with is crazy.
That's wild. But definitely prayers out to Palm Springs, the families that have lost loved ones and that have those injured. This is crazy. All because and in the hospital, the clinic did say that none of the embryos were affected, which is a positive
Mm,
thing.
mm.
And that this just goes to show, like, my body, my right. Why are you trying to
It's,
get in my business on how I want to handle my fertility care? What is wrong with
yeah,
y'all?
and folks, you don't like something, you don't have to participate in that, right? Um, but why go and take people's lives or try and take people's lives because you don't like something? This the abortion clinics, the fertility clinics and stuff. You don't have to be for that stuff, right?
Right.
Um, but why would you allow your hatred? And why does it even rise to the level of hatred? But why would you allow that to cause you to want to bomb this place and all these innocent people? And she
Right.
says, Trixie says, because people are stupid. But it's just crazy.
I'm with Trixie. I'm with
Oh,
Trixie.
gosh.
Okay, so on Friday over the weekend, manhunt a manhunt has pursued for escaped inmates in New Orleans. Okay, a
Oh,
total of 10
I
escaped,
saw that.
3 have been captured, and the Orleans parish has suspended 3 employees.
Oh,
Now, the funny part is the escape where they went out, they made a diagram and said too easy. Now, I mean, they were just doing a lot. Okay. Not only did
they
they
on
escape,
video.
but then they taunted and told them it was too easy. And they just, if you look at the video, the highway was like right there, and they just
Nice.
at them.
Where y'all going? Get back here.
They going to freedom, okay?
Temporarily, and it's only going to add because escape adds what immediately adds what 5 years to your sentence or whatever, something like
Mhm.
that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
So, in a
where y'all going?
nutshell, Louisiana was popping this weekend. You had the plantation burning down the road, and you had the escapees running across the highway.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the most bizarre sights that you will ever see. These all a whole bunch of these inmates, 11
Now,
of
see,
them.
that says 11, and then now there are reports of that there were really only 10. So I think that's an
Okay,
older report. But
okay,
now they're saying it
10,
was
11.
10, 11, 12. Two is too many. Okay. And typically in
Absolutely.
prisons, I don't even know how they were able to all get together at the same time because it's very controlled movement in prisons. And that looks like
These guys,
somebody's cell.
right,
So how did all 10, 11, 12 of
right.
them get into the cell and were
'Cause-
able to escape? They had to have some help.
yes, and
There's
you
no
said
way that all 11 of 10 of them was in that cell.
You said, but you did say you reported that at least a couple of the guards are in trouble too.
Yes, yes, yes. They've
So
been
there
suspended.
might be the answer.
3 employees have been suspended.
That might be the answer. They
Yeah,
got help, or they just fell asleep on the job,
right.
or turned their back. It's just, but that when I saw that video, I could. It's not a laughing matter, but I was laughing. And then, like you
Right.
said, they put too easy, LOL.
And the face. I mean, they just little silly little fellas, ain't they? But I bet you
Just
they were running
ignorant.
like Beyonce. Freedom, freedom. I can't
Yeah,
run.
temporary. Give me. Oh my gosh.
Well, if they're smart, they're in Mexico by now. But
Hopefully
I'm
for
not
their sake.
condoning any of this. But
Right,
if
right.
I was running, I would be in Mexico by now. Okay.
First of all, I would not be with the group. That's for sure.
No, no, no. I would have been like I would be taking the path to the border. Okay. They see
Listen,
y'all deuces.
and then I start at least pretending I speak a different language. So if a border patrol guy catches up, I'm headed back home.
No,
You know,
it's Donde está border. Where is
right,
Donde está border? Mexico.
right. Take me to Mexico.
But yes, of course, we hope they are caught and put back into custody. We're not encouraging fugitives.
We're not encouraging fugitives. Okay.
All right, let's jump into some HBCU news. Over the weekend, the board of Florida A&M University has picked Marva Johnson, a
Oh
lobbyist with ties to
gosh.
Governor Ron DeSantis,
Oh
as
my
its next
gosh.
president. And folks are not happy about this. Roland Martin went live. And a lot of the alumni are just disgusted at this decision. And a lot of Black folks are disgusted at her.
I mean, come on. Give me a break. To have this woman represent any HBCU is such an insult. It should never have happened.
No, it shouldn't have. But this is just a sign, as we look at our HBCUs, and this is a public school. So this is why this was also able to happen, because it's not a private institution, it's public. And so for our other public HBCU institutions, since this moved forward, we should definitely be on alert, paying attention to our other public HBCUs, because this can happen to them as well. And they're probably, the states
Yep.
are looking at this
Yep.
as a model.
Yep. There you go. Took the words essentially out of my mouth.
Well, if that's the case, let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going.
Basketball legend Irvin Magic Johnson pledged $500,000 to Louisiana's Xavier University to help the school raise more than $2 million in its centennial gala on May 9th. And this is something where we keep talking about, as we see what the Trump Klan administration is doing to pull back funding from HBCUs. This is where we're going to be able to maintain our HBCUs by alumni and by philanthropic individuals giving. And so this is a prime example of why it's going to take the village to help keep our HBCUs safe. Magic Johnson, that was a great thing. I thought he could have gave $1 million, but who am I to say what his pocket should be doing?
Listen,
We're grateful for
right.
the 500.
Let me tell you something. Magic does everything except one thing really well. You know what the one thing he just never was able to do well? Coach. He was never able to be a basketball coach well. I went to his first game as coach of the Lakers way back in 90, whatever it was. And they won the first game. They had a guy named Nick Van Exel as the point guard. And he just couldn't cut it as a coach. And it was, I think he blamed the modern player at the time, but everything else Magic has done he's like that King Midas. Everything turns to gold.
Right. Yeah. You brought up Nick Van Exel. He was in the headlines this weekend because he
Oh.
made the comment that a reason why a lot of these players are having these injuries and these Achilles heels being torn is because they don't wear high top tennis shoes anymore.
They
They're all
don't.
low top. And that high top supports
Good
their
point.
ankles. So he brought that
Yep.
up this weekend. I thought
We
that
was taught that back in not even before high school ball, but high school ball for sure. But you had to wear, even when we went out in the street to play hoops in the streets, high tops only.
Yeah.
It's common sense, but it's money. Money has played a role. Everybody's got their own sneaker. They want their different designs, and you never see them wear high tops anymore.
But the interesting part about that is, the NBA has all these regulations about dress code and what you can and cannot wear, but they don't have a dress code to protect the players, the most prized possession. Maybe that should be a rule. You gotta wear high tops. You gotta protect
Right.
your ankles. There's certain,
But should it really
consider
have to
that as
be a
well.
rule? Should it have to be a rule?
Clearly. We just
Well,
said
no, I
that.
think it's about the money though. They designing it, but you're right. They could say, okay, you can design your shoes, but they have to be high tops. So you're right.
Or you could have low tops, but when it's time to hit the courts, the rule is to wear high tops. Not that we don't want to support your brand deal, but we want to protect your physicality, your health. We want to keep you on the court. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a rule that needs to be
And with the
added.
money that they're making now, I mean, you got the guy at the end of the bench making $25 million a year. The guy that gets no light making $20 million a year, and you would think that the NBA would want to protect them.
Right.
So,
And so Greer definitely wants to
oh
mention the
gosh,
drama
you
with the
know,
WNBA that
uh,
kicked off. Well, let's set it up.
go ahead.
The WNBA kicked off this weekend. I'm not sure, there was a lot going on this weekend, but one of the breakout things was this happening between Angel
Flagrant
Reese
foul.
and Caitlin Clark. And I thought Angel Reese handled it with class. Oh, you want to talk about this part? But basically, it was a flagrant foul.
This idiot.
Um, and Angel Reese just said the refs made the right decision. Move on. And then you have this jerk. I think we're gonna play the clip now.
Are we? Because
There was this type of reaction last year when Angel Reese got chokeslammed by Alyssa Thomas of the Connecticut Sun. Y'all remember that? She got fouled so hard, they kicked Aaliyah Thomas out the game with a flagrant 2 foul. What did Angel Reese do? Nothing. She didn't get up and try to swing on her. You know why? The reaction was different because of who did it. And there is a lot of history there with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. You guys remember last year when Angel Reese celebrated Kennedy Carter getting that flagrant foul on the hip check against Caitlin Clark? You remember that? On the sideline, just, yeah, baby, get her, you get her. Who celebrates like that for a flagrant foul on another player if they don't dislike that player? Okay, you want to talk about who gets the credit for the expansion and the eyeballs and the popularity boost of women's basketball, not just the WNBA, but women's basketball in general, because of the spike in the women's NCAA tournament.
And I'm so glad Des Bryant checked him on this big time. Des Bryant really went in on him on this. RGD, he's a disgrace. He's a dude walking around in blackface. He's a disgrace, number one. But what Caitlin Clark did was absolutely despicable. She snatched her and threw her to the ground. And look, Angel Reese's response was anybody's response. And when she got up and she went toward her, like, what was that about? Anybody would have been like, what was that about? This guy is such a loser. He's such a, go ahead, Niele, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, I wouldn't go as far to say what she did was despicable, but it's basketball. It's intense. There's a rivalry happening there. And when we see it with the fellas, it's just, it's ball. And I think that the WNBA needs that type of rivalry. That is like probably the biggest rivalry right now in WNBA. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. And guess what? We got it. I think that both ladies handled it the way that they were supposed to. What we didn't need is his 2 cents. That's what
we certainly didn't in any way, shape, or form. And I just think that you got some people who are really intent on pleasing their white peers.
And what a lot of people commented on in this video was his wife. I think he's married to a white woman. How she was sitting in the background, just kind of like co-signing. That offended a lot of folks. So I just think that his comment was not necessary. I think Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, they are the face of rivalry for the WNBA. It's good for the game. It boosts the ratings. And both ladies handled it well in post when they did their interviews. You know what I'm saying? Like, we love to hate Caitlin Clark, and other folks love to hate Angel Reese. And that's just no different from a Larry Bird and a Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good for the game.
Yeah, and I think the game is, this idea of giving Caitlin Clark this credit. I think the game, first of all, like you said, Magic and Bird is a good comparison in the sense that you're not talking about Caitlin Clark without talking about Angel Reese. Yeah. And so, but then we've spent a lot of time talking about WNBA and women's college basketball, and without mentioning Caitlin Clark. We've talked about Juju. We've talked about Flau'jae, I should say.
Yeah.
So give it a rest with this talking point, this racist talking point that this idiot wants to continue to harp in on. RG3 never liked him, never liked any of his takes on anything, and I see why. So let's move on.
And Paige Buckner has entered the
Paige.
WNBA. She had an awesome game over the weekend, and she's another one to watch, you know. So, as to your point, we have college basketball, the ones you just talked about. They'll be coming into the WNBA in the next couple of years. And so it's only going to get juicier, folks. Only juicier.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Let's jump into a few entertainment headline news. We definitely want to give a shout out to Jamal Roberts, who has won American Idol last night. What makes this so significant is the way that Fantasia and J Hud rushed to give him his applause because, of course, I think they both won American Idol, right? Fantasia won.
I don't think Jennifer Hudson won. I don't think she won.
She was second place. She came in second. But you know, they are the breakout stars besides Kerry Clarkson and the country singer. What's the country singer girl's name? She's very popular. She hosts awards.
You talking about the first winner?
No,
Kelly?
Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood. Is it
Carrie Underwood? Carrie Underwood is another one. Yeah,
probably the top big four that really have taken their careers to the next level. Fantasia, Kerry Clarkson, J Hud, and Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, J Hud. I'm sorry. She came in fourth. Actually, I thought she came in fifth. But what was said said fourth. So okay, I'll go with that.
So she didn't win, but they're the breakout stars and the two most prominent African American ones that have won. And so they rushed to Jamal Roberts on Instagram, and we're just showing him all the love and all the things. So congratulations to Jamal Roberts.
All right.
All right, and let's move on. Lena Waithe's The Chi returned to Paramount Showtime over the weekend. And Star's power book Raising Cain will have its final season with season 5. Season 4 concluded over the weekend. I got to binge watch the entire 4th season of Raising Canaan, and it's gonna get juicy. I can't wait. But yeah, and shout out to Lena Waithe because they say the ratings are bananas over at Showtime right now because of The Chi.
Okay, nice.
And then finally, it's official, y'all. NAACP's Beyond the Gates is coming back for a season 2. Now, that's the new soap opera that comes on right after Bold and the Beautiful, I think it is. The soap opera, which premiered on February 24th, significantly boosted viewership for CBS, okay, by 48%. And surpassed ABC's General Hospital by 7% among women aged 25 to 54. And that just wasn't Black women. So Beyond the Gates is doing what it's supposed to do. So congratulations to the NAACP for being at the forefront and getting this soap opera on television.
And you said General Hospital. That thing's been on like 200 years.
General Hospital. So has Young and the Restless, you know.
And that.
Victor Newman is still doing what Victor Newman does, you know, and Sonny Corinthos over at General Hospital is still the gangster, you know. So some things change, but most things don't on soap operas. So hopefully Beyond the Gates will have a long life like those soap operas too. And those are your more trending headlines for today.
Wow. Okay. And so we're gonna revoke somebody's black card this morning. Okay. It's time to. Well, I mean, look, Philip Anderson. Philip Anderson is just another Chicago.
He's not related.
That's your cousin. Come on, tell folks that's your cousin. Claim
even though my Anderson roots are from Joliet, Illinois, there's still no affiliation.
Another Chicago black MAGA who's wildly lost. He calls himself a J6 survivor and a, quote, well-informed black man. He continues to stand against everything that's black, including the recent Supreme Court decisions that have gone against his favorite president, Trump, of course. He calls Black Lives Matter folks degenerates and calls Derek Chauvin He calls Derek Chauvin, the man who killed George Floyd, a political prisoner. And one post this month, accompanied by photos of a whole white family, old boy writes that he and others are fearlessly demanding for anti-white racism and violence to end in Chicago, at the exact spot where an innocent young white mother, he says, was spit on and then brutally murdered. The victim's boyfriend is here standing with us, he says. So another MAGA from Chicago, of all places. We won't stop until we've officially taken the black card from all of them. So that's about it. Done. Finished. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, let's get some before we get to the answer for our black trivia, let's get into some history. On this date, yes, Dr. Nicole says definitely a self-hating lost soul. On this date, as I think you've alluded to already, in 1925, this young man by the name of Malcolm Little was born in Omaha, Nebraska. We know Malcolm Little became known as the world famous Malcolm X.
Yeah. Excuse me. I have on my Malcolm X glasses today in honor of the Honorable Malcolm X. And,
you do. I just realized that actually. That's a good one. Okay.
I do. I decided to do it.
Oh Lord.
And we know today also Reverend Al Sharpton is holding a press conference with the family of Malcolm X along with Ben Crump, because remember a few months ago the family filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. And so I think they're going to be giving an update on that, and of course just remembering the life, the legacy of Malcolm X.
All right.
And on this date in 1930, the granddaughter of a freed slave, Lorraine Vivian Hansberry, was born to a successful real estate broker and school teacher who resided in Chicago, Illinois. And in 1938, the family moved to a white neighborhood and was violently attacked by its inhabitants by the former, but the reformer refused to the vacant. I'm sorry, I'm messing this up.
They refused to vacate the area.
Okay.
Her and her family refused to vacate the area. The only reason, folks, she's a little confused because I wrote it and just wrote it haphazardly. So they refused
to get to the gist of it. What is the black history in this? Tell us.
So her family, when they moved to this area, they were the first blacks in this area, and they were violently attacked by the white folks that was living there, and they refused to leave. They said, no, we're going to stay here. And then the Supreme Court jumped in, and that's where the case became known as Hansberry versus Lee. So this was an integration case that they spearheaded. So there you have it. But the biggest takeaway,
she was born.
Right. That's really what she was born in this date. That was part of her history. So Lorraine Vivian Hansberry was born on that date. So sorry for the confusion, folks. I'll take responsibility for that. The Black History Pop Quiz answer. Let's get the question again and the answer. I didn't see anybody put answers in the chat. So I guess, Greer, what's the, here we go. Which two influential historical figures' birthdays inspired the selection of February for what would become Black History Month? I know RNG knows this. He's got to know this. Which two influential historical figures' birthdays inspired the selection of February for what would become Black History Month? Wow. So Frederick,
Stacy.
I would never have guessed that was Lincoln was the other one. Wow. Okay. There's your answer, folks. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Milwaukee Community Journal. Since 1976, the Community Journal reports that it has been the largest African-American newspaper in the state of Wisconsin, averaging about 200,000 weekly readerships and reporting narratives, legacies, and opinions that educate and empower. The journal says it refuses to publish things that demean or undermine Black people's journey toward freedom. Its publisher, Patricia Patillo, was the first female president of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. So there you have it. The Milwaukee Community Journal. Check them out, folks, online. And if you're local, pick up a paper.
Yeah, and for all our Let It Be Known family, tell a friend about the Let It Be Known morning show. Let's bring some more people into the village and talk about these Black headlines. And for the latest in Black news, head on over to BlackPressUSA.com. Lots to talk about.
And it does take a village. So as she said, bring some more folks into the village. We'll see you again tomorrow with more news and headlines from Let It Be Known.